What's going on? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Anissa Naomi. I'm a high performance transformation coach. I help women elevate in work, life, and at home so they can have it all. I'm so excited to be back here talking with you today about one of my favorite topics. And this topic is one that admittedly is a little overused. It's one that has become a bit of a buzzword, but I hope that what you hear from me today, and not even from me, but that you hear from God through me today, would be a fresh perspective on what has become a bit of an overused term. So we're going to talk a little bit about self-love, and not in the bubble bath and skincare type of way. We're going to be talking about self-love in a true spiritual way and taking care of your heart so that you have the capacity to show up in your life for other people so that other people can provide you with whatever it is that you need from them. Because the truth of the matter is we're human beings and we have needs. And in order for us to live this life of really having it all and maximizing all categories of our lives, we have to allow the people who are around us, the people who we love and who want to love on us, we have to give them the opportunity to do that. And one of the ways we do that is through loving ourselves. So this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Years ago, just a couple of years ago, God led me to Mark 12. And in Mark 12, this story is about, the Bible refers to them as lawyers, but lawyers in the Bible were academics of the history of theology. So they studied religion essentially. So they studied the law of Moses, which is why they're called lawyers, because they studied the law of Moses, reminding us that this is a theocracy that the Bible is talking about. But in Mark chapter 12, this lawyer comes to Jesus and he says, "Teacher, what is the most important law? I've studied all the laws, I know all of them, but what's the number one law? What's the most important? What's the most valuable to God?" And Jesus responds to him and he says, "The greatest commandment is this, that you love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul." So that you love your Creator with every fiber of your being, that you would love the person who created the God, the divine source that created you and put you on this earth, that you would show love to God, love, respect, admiration to God. That's the number one thing. And it's a full body feeling. I love the fact that Jesus uses mind, body, and soul, or with all your heart, mind, and soul. And the second commandment, and this is what we're going to talk about today, is like it. Jesus says that you would love your neighbor as yourself. And now I grew up in the church. I'm churched, if you will. Many people who have taught me have very formal academic studied theology and things of that nature, hold doctorates in theology and all of these things, these fancy things that really don't matter, quite frankly. But those are the types of people that I learned from. And so I've heard this verse so many times, that you would love your neighbor as yourself. But when I read it in a dark room at 4 o'clock in the morning in April of 2020, it was brand new to me. And I think that's one of the amazing things about the Bible. But in this instance, my eyes kept going to the last two words of this verse, which are as yourself. So God calls us to love our neighbor. That's the second commandment. But he says, as yourself. And I just remember having this moment of, whoa, in order to love my neighbor, I have to love myself. And I think that that's something that we've gotten away from. We hear a lot of times, love your neighbor. We hear a lot of times, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But a lot of times we fail to think about how we want to be treated. We fail to think about the very things that we need in order to have the right perspective to show true love to other people, the people in our sphere of influence, the people in our lives who we want to show love to, because we haven't even taken the time to address what love looks like to us. So essentially there's 3 commandments in that verse that Jesus is talking to this lawyer in this scenario. He says, love God. And then the next thing you have to do is love yourself. So then you can love your neighbor, right? And I wanted to just talk about how are we loving on ourselves every day. And I think the moment that I read this, I asked myself the same question. And it was in this season of my life that I started to move a little bit differently. I started to prioritize myself and really just healing myself in ways that I didn't know that I needed to be healed. I was eating better. I was nourishing myself with substantial foods that would help me be more energized. I was reading more. I was reading the Bible, but I was also reading different books that would help nourish my mind in ways that I hadn't allowed myself to be nourished. I was pursuing other passions, what other passions are out there that maybe you're not pursuing? Maybe you've quelled down what you've really needed to the point where you might not even know what it is. Now, when we love on other people, it's a way that we can help fulfill their needs. It's a way that we are needed by them. But when you love on yourself, it's a way that you show up for yourself and fulfill your own needs. And I do believe that there is a sense of self that can give you that fulfillment, that can fulfill those needs. And I don't think that we can fulfill all of our needs, but there are certain needs that we have to understand that only we can provide for ourselves. And I don't want to skip over the first commandment of loving God and loving your Creator. But I also don't want to spend too much time on it, right? Because the crux of this is this hidden commandment. If we love God, if we admire God, and we have this reverence and fear for the one who created us, if we believe that then we are created in His image, and we have these characteristics of God within us because we're created in His image, then it makes it a little bit easier for us. I think particularly as women, we tend to shove off our needs. We tend to put ourselves last. And what ends up happening when we do this is that we show up as a smaller, less than version of ourselves for everybody else in our lives. And if you haven't noticed, people in our lives, they need us. They absolutely need us. And we cannot love and love on and provide for the people in our lives until we have truly met our own needs. So here are some ways that we can practically do this. And it's not about bubble baths and skincare, as I mentioned earlier. It's about those long-term habits. I always say those long-term habits are really, how are you taking care of your body, your physical health? Your physical health is comprised of a number of things. One of them is sleep. Another one of them is movement. The other one is nourishment. That's your physical health, right? And when we position ourselves to rest in a way that we can be recharged and have the energy to show up for the people in our lives, it positions us to have such a greater level of success. The other one is physical movement. And this is important not only because of your physical looks. I think there's confidence that comes in moving your body. I think that there's confidence that comes in showing up for yourself every day in a way that makes sense for you. And it doesn't look the same for everybody. In some seasons for me, it's walking 30 minutes a day. In other seasons, it's a 50-minute group fitness class. In other seasons, it's weightlifting by myself in a gym. And the key though is to find a sense of movement and mobility that is fun for you. That can be a dance class, whatever it is. It has to be fun, right? And in some ways it could create community. So then you're getting twofold there. And then nourishing yourselves. Thinking about how is the food that I'm putting in my body actually making me feel? Majority of food that we find in grocery stores today are not even real food. these ingredients are not nourishing you. So you're eating something, but it's not sustaining you. So when you're not being sustained, then you're hangry, and you can't show up for your husband, you can't show up for your kids, you can't show up in your job in a way that allows for your brain to operate, and your emotions for that matter, to operate in a manner that is beneficial to the people around you. So we really have to look at how we're nourishing ourselves and nourishing our health. Another one is, how are we talking to ourselves? How are we loving on ourselves in the way that we're talking to ourselves? This was a big one for me. I think for me, it was pretty quick transition when I changed the way that I was approaching my physical health, particularly with what I was eating in my food. And that happened when I was in college. I decided I was gonna stop eating Taco Bell, I was gonna stop eating Wendy's, and I was gonna start eating real food. And it was a pretty drastic change. And I remember my peers saying to me, oh, well, you're on a health kick, and whenever you're off that health kick, like, you can come meet us down at the ice cream shop. We'll be right here for you. And here I am 10 years later and still on this health kick. It's really a lifestyle. And the reason it became a lifestyle for me is because of the energy that I got when I changed my diet, when I changed what I was putting in my body, and I realized that I had a more mental focus when I was in my classes. I had a more mental focus when I was showing up at work. I had more energy and more vitality when I was engaging in conversation with friends. And I enjoyed that more than I enjoyed some taco from Taco Bell. So it was that benefit and that feeling that allowed me to stay in that and really build upon that habit. And then I realized there was just something going on in between my ears. There was a conversation happening in my head. There was this almost desire and default thought to be negative. And I called myself a realist. I said, I'm not being negative, I'm just being realistic. But a lot of the conversations and the thoughts that I would have, default thoughts that I have, were really not beneficial, because at the end of the day, our thoughts are what generates the feelings that we have. Oftentimes, and there's science behind this, the feelings that we have are directly correlated to our behaviors and our actions. And every action that we take creates a consequence, good or bad. So I'm gonna run that back. We're having self-chatter, we're having thoughts in our head that generate feelings in our body, emotions in our body, that then translate to behaviors outwardly. And each behavior that we take in the world has a consequence. So when we recognize that the thoughts that we're having may or may not be beneficial to us, and for me at the time, my thoughts are not always beneficial to me. Having negative self-talk, thinking, this is just the way that it is, thinking that I really can't have an impact on the results, and thinking that the world is rigged. That was a big one for me, that the world wasn't set up for me to be successful. The world was set up for me to live a mediocre life. Thinking that, once I got married, that there was no more upward trajectory for me in my life. Fear behind wanting to grow our family, which is something that I know in my heart that I desire, but I had this fear that once I have kids, that my life is over. And there has to be a challenge in some of those default thoughts. And one of my favorite questions to ask myself when I realize that I'm having a thought that's not serving me, it does not serve me to say that there is no more expansion that can happen for me in this life once I create life. It doesn't even make sense, right? Once I create life by having children, then there's no more creation that can happen for me. It doesn't serve me. It actually plants a seed of resentment for my future children, God willing, that does not need to exist. So once I realize, okay, that's not a healthy thought, it's not beneficial, it's planting a seed of resentment for my future unborn children. So how do I combat that? How do I interrupt that? I like to interrupt thoughts that are not serving me with questions. What if that's not true? What else could be true? If that's not true, what else can be true? Is it possible that having children is one of the greatest creations that I will ever be able to have in this life, and creation begets creation? right? So you start to ask yourselves these questions to really give your mind an opportunity to find another pathway. Every thought that we have creates a neural path in our brain. And the more neural paths that we have, the more frequently we have these thoughts, the more conditioned that neural path is. And so when you decide that you want to think something differently, that you want to question your default thoughts, that you want to question the repetitive thoughts that you're having, then you can create new neural pathways. But it's not easy. Because again, you've been having these thoughts subconsciously or consciously for quite some time now, probably since you were a child. And it's up to you to become aware of the thoughts that are not serving you. If the thoughts are not creating, if you're not having the results that you want in your life, you're not thinking productive thoughts, period. So if you're looking at your life and you're feeling discontent and you're feeling unfulfilled, your thoughts are not serving you, my friend. And I say that with the most love. And when we talk about loving yourself, one of the best ways that you can show love to yourself is to talk to yourself nicely, my friend. Talk to yourself in a way that is going to create feelings of abundance, that is going to create feelings of joy, of gratitude, create feelings of peace, create feelings that will then translate into results that are remarkable, results that you can be content with, results that you can think that you never even would have thought of, or results that maybe you're dreaming of and maybe you think that they're reserved for people who are not like you. But I have news for you. The thoughts and desires that you have in your head that you think might be reserved for somebody else, I promise you that God would not have put a desire on your heart if he did not mean to fulfill it. Proverbs says that hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is the tree of life. Meaning that when you have desires on your heart, they're not designed to be put off. They're not designed to be pushed aside and said that they're not for now. They're designed to be fulfilled. And the way that we fulfill them is by taking the action that is going to create the results that we desire. It's Bible. Okay, so I need you to know that if you want something, if you desire for something, it's not there to go unmet. It's there to be fulfilled. And a true way to express love to yourself is to go after the desires of your heart. You can do that by rewiring your brain. You can do that by choosing thoughts that are productive. You can do that by sitting with positive feelings and generating positive feelings that are going to create the action needed to get the results that you want. One more thing and then we get up out of here. So we talked about physical health. We talked about what's going on in your brain. But let's now talk about habits. Let's talk about daily habits. Let's talk about setting yourself up for success. How often do you look around and see things in your life or say that you were going to do something, but then you do not do it? Maybe you said that you were going to clean out a closet, but you're waiting and you're pushing it off. Maybe you said that you were going to take a walk every day, but you're putting it off. And maybe it's you said that you were going to start a project and move towards working on a project or starting a business, but you're putting it off. I need you to understand that when you put off the things that you say that you're going to do, you are eroding your self-trust. And when you erode your self-trust, you are setting yourself up to have a lack of confidence. Confidence means a lack of confidence in yourself. The word confidence it directly translates coming from the Latin word con, meaning with, fidelity, meaning faith or loyalty. So you're doing something with confidence, you're doing something with faith. And when you are doing something with faith or doing something without faith, rather, lacking that self-confidence, it's just not gonna hit. People can tell, people can feel it, your energy and all of that good stuff. And so it's really important that when you say that you're going to do something, that you chip away at it. It can be small, it can be big action, whatever it is that you do, every action that you take every day builds small compounding levels of self-confidence. And when you build those small compounding levels of self-confidence, you have the capacity to show up in a way that allows for people to be there for you. I promise you this, when I'm showing up for a dream that I have on my heart, when I'm showing up for my business, when I'm showing up for doing this YouTube channel, and when I'm talking to my husband Jordan about it and showing up, then he in turn shows up for me as well. See, a lot of us are expecting the people in our lives to show up and support our dream and our vision for our lives more than we're choosing to show up and support our dream and our vision for our lives. I want to say that again. A lot of us are expecting the people in our lives to show up and support our dream and our vision for our lives more than we're willing to show up and support our dream and our vision for our lives. So I need you to put stake in the ground. I need you to put some skin in the game. I need you to put some sweat equity behind what it is that you desire so that you can start showing people that it's as important to you as you say it is. If it's important to you that you show up in a way that you can feel confident in your body, then you need to be taking the action day in and day out to show up and support your body in a way that you feel confident about it. If it's important to you that you have the energy to show up in your life for your people that you care about, then I need you to start fueling your body in a way that reflects that. If it's important for you to start the business, to launch the project, then I need you to start putting the small daily actions behind that. I need you to start setting aside time for that, because that is a reflection of how much it truly matters to you. And I know that's a tough pill to swallow, but it really is. And every time that we take those actions that are in alignment with what we say our intention for our lives are, then that is a way that we are showing love. It's a way that we show love to ourselves. And so how you show up in the world for yourself is a direct reflection of how much you love yourself. And how you love yourself and how you show up for yourself is directly correlated to how much you can show up for other people in your life. It's difficult to make impact on your family when you don't have energy. It's difficult to start a project, launch a project when you don't have confidence in yourself because you're not showing up for yourself. How we show up for ourselves, how we love ourselves are direct reflections of what we're willing to do for the things that we love. I need you to take those last two words of the second greatest commandment, to love your neighbor as yourself. I need you to take that as yourself, and I need you to start taking it seriously. I need you to understand that God commands you to love yourself. I need you to understand that God commands you to take care of yourself. He commands you to carry yourself in a way that you can be proud of. And that when you do that, when you sow that seed of love for yourself, then everyone else around you starts operating with you in a different way. And it's a way that's more fulfilling. It's a way that's more supportive. It's a way that allows your needs to be met and fulfilled by not only the other people in your life, but also by God and also by yourself. And when you put those three together, man, you're going to be unstoppable. You're going to create a life for yourself that you couldn't dream of. So on this journey to becoming, on this journey to creating these desires and fulfilling the desires of your heart, I need you to understand it's a spiritual practice. Loving yourself is something that is spiritual. It's something that you do when you see yourself as an image bearer of God, when you see yourself as a divine image bearer. Then you make it a little bit easier to start prioritizing yourself. And when you make it easier to prioritize yourself, things start falling into place. This grand big vision of having it all starts to seem a little bit more real, starts to feel like you can turn that spiritual transformation that you're creating in yourself by showing up into a physical manifestation. So I leave you with this. Please find some area of your life that you are desiring for more, that you can fulfill that need for yourself. And then show up every day as if you are truly made in the image of God, as if it is a divine obligation for you to love yourself in that way, because it truly is. I love you so much. There's nothing you can do about it. Until next time, bye.